Happy Friday to all. Draft season. What are we, like 3 weeks away from NFL action? Unbelievable. We're finally getting draft night. NFFC Rotowire Online Championship. Welcome, everybody. We'll have people pouring in here. Give people a little bit of time to get here so we can start going over the parameters of this draft. I'm going to try to get this thing moved over to my secondary screen, which should be popping up there, but it doesn't want to do it, so we'll mitigate that disaster right now. But again, you see the draft board, no names on the draft board. That's the way we do it so that people's identities are kept private, because you never know. People are drafting in a lot of these drafts and don't want people to know their draft strategies. So draft numbers, not so bad. All right, good. A crisis averted there. All right, got a few people pouring in here. Again, we'll be drafting. I'll give a few parameters. Give me a minute to do that. I'm picking for the third spot in this one. Again, as I said, the NFFC Rotowire Online Championship at a $250,000 grand prize. If you want to be part of this, play NFFC.com. Go to the site, sign up. You can do the live events. You can do, well, the slow drafts are done. So you can do the online drafts. There's still spots. I know the New York one was almost sold out. There were a spot or two left the other day. Vegas, just check it out. Get after it. Jay Red, appreciate you greatly. Randy's in the house. And thank you for the good luck. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, Dan's in the house. I met him at the Fantasy Football Expo. Yes. And Josh as well. Yep, you're at 12. Okay, good. So I'll make sure I talk your team up a little bit here as well. Always great. Yeah, I don't really roast too much. Somebody had to really do something crazy for that to happen. But yeah, we're good. We're getting a good number pouring in here starting out. I know that number will tick up toward draft time, but I'll give the parameters now. I can repeat those later. So again, NFFC Rotowire Online Championship, $250K grand prize, full point PPR, 6 points per passing touchdown, and 0.05 points per passing yard. We start a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, flex, defensive special teams, and a team kicker. This is third round reversal, so be cognizant of that. This is not best ball. This is a fully managed league with Fab. The top 2 teams in each league, what is like 11 weeks roughly? I think that's right around there, maybe a little bit more. Top 2 teams move to the grand prize tournament. Now, a third team can make the money round. It's a wild card based on points. Last year, one of my teams made it that way. I was like, oh man, third place, not so good, but I had a good amount of points, so made it there. So that's important to know. The way draft overs decide, we have KDS, Kentucky Derby style. Everybody sets their preference of 1 to 12 in the order, and then from there the system generates and works that way. Third was one of my preference. I don't remember what number, but I'm glad it's a different spot than I've had in the other drafts. I'm very excited about drafting in the third spot this time. I've had the 4th pick, the 6th pick, and I believe I had the 7th pick. This is my 4th one of these that I'm in. I probably will just kill it at 4. I'd love to play in 20 of these, but I think 4 is good. I got to watch managed leagues being in the industry. I can only have so many because producing content for everybody, it's primary focus, getting it right for everybody. And playing in leagues is great, but again, my job's to you. So, all right, what else do you need to know? Look, Rotowire, we've been doing a lot of work revamping that Rotowire site. We've got a new mock draft tool, a draft assistant, a lot of good stuff going on there. If my articles are there, I drop about 4 articles a week on Rotowire. The only place you can catch those is behind the paywall. If you have any interest in that, go to rotowire.com, use the code YouTube15 at checkout. Also, we have a huge marathon going on Monday. It's 11 Eastern to 4 Eastern in the afternoon. You catch it on replay, but it's on Rotowire YouTube. It's pinned to my page. I'll have 32 industry experts. We'll each talk about one of the NFL teams for fantasy, an overall view of the team. We'll give you a player to target, player to fade, and then a bold take. But again, have 32 of the industry's best will be on there. You will enjoy that show. I'm just going to ride shotgun for everybody, get some nice discussion going, and just have fun. And I will be on Sirius XM this weekend, Fantasy Sports Radio, Channel 87. I will be on 2 to 4 Saturday and Sunday. I know we've been preempted for coverage, different things, but we'll be back for the ride there. finally, before we start in 20 seconds here, every Thursday night now, our night got switched starting Thursday. Tom Kesenick of the NFFC and myself, we will have the High Stakes Fantasy Show. I know when the season starts, it'll be during Thursday Night Football, but hey, you know what? You can mute that TV, watch the game, and we could talk some high stakes fantasy. All right, 7 seconds to roll here. You have your draft board there. Feel free to put comments, and I'll do my best to address those. And it looks like we're rolling. All right, good. It looks like I'm synced up on the clocks here. I got 2 computers going here, so always fun with that. All right, so let's see here. All right. And the thing I love here is you can, on the NFFC, you always have the ability to set up your own, your draft board. And I love that about it. As a matter of fact, let's see where mine went. Where the heck's mine? All right, I'm on deck, and there, my draft list. Perfect there. So we have Chase, Bijan Robinson. And this time I'm going to stay true to my board. I'm going to let this clock tick down a little bit so I can talk a little bit. So, look, my big theory this year, the 4-2-5 defense is the base in the NFL. 2 linebackers on the field, not 3 or 4. And they're lighter than about 230 to cover the pass. I believe these running backs who are getting a lot of work, they are not taking the big hits that they were taking. The community's out on Barkley because of those 482 touches last year. Look, how often do you see him getting rocked? I think he's fine. So guess who I'm clicking right here? I'm taking it. I'm going against the trend. 3rd pick. Yes, I'm taking Saquon Barkley. And there we go. Saquon's there, followed by Bijan Robinson, and then Jamar Chase at number 1. Barkley's kind of gone back up in ADP a little bit. We had that deal where he's going down to the 7th pick. In some drafts, he falls there still, certainly. But Albert's in the house. Hello. And Chad's here as well. See what the news this week of the Cleveland. Yeah, right. I know. And so I could talk about it. This won't be gamesmanship for anybody. Jahmyr Gibbs goes forth. Wonderful player there. So in the Kings Classic, which is a 14-team league, I drafted the Pro Football Hall of Fame with some top industry experts. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, the 5 and 6 pick. We have 3 running backs, 3 receivers off the board here. Anyway, Judkins in the auction. I can talk about that. There's no gamesmanship there. My friend Doug Orth put him up for $1. I spent too much money on tight end, on quarterback, on my first 2 running backs. I bumped him up to 2 on Judkins. And at this point, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm glad I got him for 2 because that team needed depth. So I got Rashee Rice for 13. People were freaked out about him, and I don't know what to make of that. But again, and I had to save money on Olave 17. So that auction worked real nice. But there's darts, but I had a great base to work around. Talk about it in a minute. Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown's getting a lot of traction here. And I think the reason Amon-Ra St. Brown is moving back up the board because he was fading to the end of the first, early second. But I really think that the safety of St. Brown, the floor, is becoming more prevalent. There are other players in this draft who will get selected. And the questions are there. Injury questions, ancillary injuries, things like that. So, yeah, so Drake London goes at the 8th pick, and I love the aggressive nature of that 8th pick. You all know I'm in on London when I'm going with a receiver early. I love that because, remember, it was the last 6 games. Drake London was averaging 11.3 targets, 90-something yards. I think it was 93 or 96. Those 3 games with Penix. And I know we had the crazy one in there with Penix that 11 targets became 13. That 93 or so yards became 117. That offense was really just rolling around London and Bijan. Love that. Malik Neighbors 9. So as we bring him in here, the question again, now a little shoulder dinged up, the foot still listed as an issue, the quarterback. He's a great pick, but I think that's why people are no longer taking Neighbors at 6, 7. People are taking other players that are perceived to be safer. And then Nico Collins at 11. Everybody's listening to me. Excuse me. I've loved Collins since he was a rookie. Well, he used to be cheap. Even that year he went for $1,200 and change. He was still affordable. But now the injuries, every year he misses time. Now, one year it was 2 or 3 games. It was low, but it's 5, it's 4. A first-round pick, you don't want to go in knowing your first-round pick is going to miss a handful of games. If it happens, you get it. But how do you pass on Collins because he's a league winner? So that's the bet you're making, right? All right, our friends Dan and Josh at the turn. Ashton Genty falls all the way. I'm telling you that that preseason game, we went 3 for negative yard. It had an impact on his ADP. We have seen instant reactions. And then Brian Thomas Jr. at the turn. So nice little turn pick going with the running back value and getting their top receiver on the board. Derrick Henry, the big dog, to match with Nico Collins, like the bounce. And what I like about the build for Team 11 for 2 players in is that, yeah, Collins can win your league, but the injuries around. Henry is so reliable. He missed time in 2021 with a broken foot, but it's other than that, he doesn't miss time. So to have a real stable high-end player with Collins, I think that's the way to play it. The more players you take with some risk, you got to mitigate that by getting some players that are perceived to be safe. You never know if the player is truly safe, is what it is. Okay, let's see what we got here. So, and McCaffrey went at 10. And that's his ADP is always around there, but I always see him in my drafts going like 6, 7. I've taken him. One draft, I want to take my dart at him. But when he gets to 10, I think that's, beginning as value goes, right? I do think that's where ADP shows. But again, I just don't see drafts where it is happening, but it happened here. All right. So Puka Nacua goes to McCaffrey. And now Nacua obviously could put up a ton of fantasy points, and you know that. Stafford's injury scares the heck out of me because Tony Romo summed it up, and somebody else told me this, but Tony Romo said, whoever said they used to have a bad back? And, I'm pick 3 in this one, everybody. I thank you. Those who just tuning in. So I need to reset here. So Bucky Irving goes to team that with Malik Neighbors. And then Chase Brown goes with Drake. That's a dynamic duo for team 8. And so I really do like all these teams at the turn. Very fun. Now, the McCaffrey Nacua, got to keep McCaffrey healthy. Nacua is going to have to avoid the ancillary injury. Stafford isn't playing. Jimmy G's in. That scares me. Left tackle Alaric Jackson, real issue. He has blood clots, and the poor man hasn't practiced. He had him a couple of years ago and played. Team 7, go Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's been banged up all of camp, so there's a nice price to get him at. Pairing him with the safe Amon-Ra St. Brown is smart. Jefferson Devon Achane, and Achane shooting for the upside there. But Chase Brown in many drafts has begun to sneak ahead of Achane. The ADP still says Achane, but I was part of the guilty party here. Kings Classic, I took Chase Brown. I just think that offense is going to score a cajillion points and give me a piece of that. But Achane, you can never go wrong, right? All right, let's see what else we got here. So anyway, 3rd round reversal coming up. We're midway through round 2. Remember, this is the NFFC Rotowire Online Championship. $250K to the winner. Love our friends Greg Ambrosius, Tom Kesnick, who run the show over there, and plenty of their helpers as well. They just do a great job. 6 points for passing touchdown, 0.05 points per passing yard. And I'm on deck here. Let's get ready to rock here. And the nice thing is, like I said, I can set my board ahead of time. So let's see what we got going here. All right, let's see what I want to do here. Yeah, I got a couple of ideas. Let's see who at 4 does, and then we'll go from there. We have a lot of running back receiver pairings so far. So we got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 running backs off the board, about 19 picks through the draft. So it is a little bit of a running back heavy draft here, as I notice. And 3rd round reversal again is coming. So and I'll be taking the comments in a moment, so let's get on to those briefly. Like I said, we start 3 receivers, a flex. It's not best ball, fully managed team. Brock Bowers off the board. All right, I can't gamesmanship, so I'm not going to talk about names of players. I'm probably going to go running back here because I'm looking at how many are off the board already. I thought there'd be a couple less, and I thought about going receiver here. But with the 3rd round reversal, I don't come back until there's quite a few more picks on the board. So I think I'm going to have to approach it this way. One running back I would strongly consider has too many injury issues. I am going to swing for some fence here. So I am going to go with Breece Hall a little bit ahead of some other players. As I've told you, if you've listened to me, he played through an MCL injury last year. I believe that with Justin Fields having an uber mobile quarterback, linebackers be on their heels, I believe Hall is going to prove very fast about how much distance there is between he and his teammates. So that's at Braylon Allen especially. And I do think that Breece Hall is closer to that running back we were taking in the middle of the 1st round last year. But again, maybe a little risk, but I am buying the injury. Josh Allen, seal is broken on the quarterback position. Let's take a couple comments here. as we get to the third round reversal pretty soon here. Full PPR, if I didn't say it earlier. Top two teams make the grand prize tournament. The third team could, if they have points, this is wild card. Well, any team beyond, and that'd be the third. It could be the 12th team if they have the points to make the wild card. All right. So, yeah, Chad was mentioning earlier. Love Dan and Josh's, Genty and Brian Thomas. They putting up some possibility for some big upside. Lamar goes off the board after Josh Allen to close out the first round. So there we have it there. Delroy asked earlier, I am the third pick. Chad, do I prefer the higher risk, higher upside 1-2 punches? So, yeah, and as I was talking through earlier, there's no one way to do this. You're playing for $250K. You're not just playing to win your 12-team league. You're playing to win the whole shebang, right? So in that scenario, look, you want to roll the dice a little bit in the early rounds, then roll away. I tend to like the balance risk. And now that Taylor's off the board, he was a player that I could have had ahead of Breece Hall, but the missed time. He was great at the end of last season. And I know that Dan and Josh made a great pick there with Taylor because we saw it. 25 carries a game. I believe it was the last 5, averaging 143 yards. He was pure gold. But I really felt like Breece Hall coming off of last year was the player that he's missed time too. So, but it was about one injury. Really, it was the one injury. It was the ACL. So, yeah, I just preferred Breece Hall there. That was the way I went. Taylor would have probably been the ADP pick that people would have gone with, and can't go wrong. But so far, Dan and Josh over there with Genty and Taylor, so a nice 2 running back setup to start, and then you bring in Brian Thomas, so a real strong base. Garrett Wilson, team 11. So, again, Collins, the little injury thing, but you come back with the steady Derrick Henry. Garrett Wilson, 147 to 168 targets every year. Trey McBride goes to team 10 to give them McCaffrey, Nakua, and Trey McBride. Lad McConkey in the third round. So on the team with Bucky Irving, Malik Neighbors, again, setting up that receiver base. We've seen 2 of the, I'm going to say first 4 teams because we're going backwards now, and now make it another team. So 3 of the 5 teams between 8 and 12 go 2 receivers and a running back. So coming out strong there. All right, so let's see what else we got. So Randy, team 7, what can Brown do for you, man? I love A.J. Brown. I hope he's healthy this year. I know last year he said his knee was getting drained. He's got some hamstring issues. Please, A.J. Brown, be healthy for all of us, right? It's a slap to football. Kyron Williams goes here. It's a real nice building block with a team with 2 receivers. The reason I passed on Williams earlier, I really believe if Matthew Stafford's back is an issue and Alaric Jackson, left tackle, accelerates that problem, I am very worried that this whole offense craters. If Stafford's healthy, it's great. And so Williams on his own is not efficient, but volume's king in fantasy football. So Williams, when he gets a volume in a good offense, yeah, he's going to eat all day long. But if Stafford's not there and Jimmy G is in, I'm very concerned. So again, Kyron Williams can't go wrong. You know, the volume's there. And Jay, I do like King Henry. All right, I'm on deck here. JSN really fell a little bit late there. All right, let me take a look at my board here. Yeah, all right, let's see what I got to do there. All right, let's see what we got here. Yep, all right, let's see what we got for a pick here. And I'll wait for team 4. Now, team 4. Oh, so team 5 at CeeDee Lamb, Jackson, Smith, and Jigba to go with Josh Jacobs. Team 4 picking out Jahmyr Gibbs, Brock Bowers, and Mike Evans. All right. This is a case where, ADP is about right here. There's a few players ahead of him, but there are a few players I don't like, and I'm taking a wide receiver here. And again, no gamesmanship, so I won't talk up any players till they get selected. There are certain receivers, even though their ADP is higher than this, there's red flags, and I'm not excited about them. So I'm going with my guy. And everybody who listens to me know I will die on the DJ Moore hill anytime I can because DJ Moore is my guy. He's wide receiver 14 in a mess of a season last year, wide receiver 6 with Justin Fields 2 years ago. I don't think Ben Johnson's foolish enough to say, oh, you know what, we got other plans. DJ Moore's a superstar. He's just never been in a good situation. So anyway, he's my guy. I'm riding with him. When he's on the board at a reasonable spot, I'm taking him the way it is. James Cook. Well, that's a real nice. Now ADP gone up. James Cook signs the contract. He normally goes in the 4th round of these drafts, but this, and the running back run slowed down a little in this round. We've only had 3 of them go, And but James Cook comes off the board with Bijan Robinson and a nice little Buffalo pairing with Josh Allen. Maybe that becomes a stack later. We will have to find out. Team 1 is on the turn. Got Jamar Chase and Lamar Jackson. That's a really explosive start. And if I didn't say, hey, Henry, hello, Henry. Jay, yeah, I know. I don't. It's really hard to understand with Mike Evans, and because especially now with Godwin hurt, right? And because last year Godwin out targeted Evans, and it wasn't all that close. Evans was 13 PPR points per game, and then when Godwin got hurt, it became 21. And I don't know, people are in Ibuka, and if Ibuka can pick up a lot of target share, I think people are worried because if Godwin's healthy at some point, and if Ibuka's a thing, I think they're worried because Evans, we already saw it last year. Now Cohen was there and he's not, but the target share took a big hit for Mike Evans when their guys were there. And then when they didn't have Godwin and they didn't trust McMillan yet, it was just Mike Evans eating all day. So I just think there's some variables in there. And look, as great as Mike Evans is, he's so good, he's boring. Right? Can you imagine in life being so good you're boring? But that's his fate. All right. So team 1 double taps running back Kenneth Walker, Omarion Hampton. So after having not touched it for 2 rounds in the 3rd round reversal, end up with a very strong running back duo to kick this thing off. All right. Ted McMillan. All right. I'm going to tell a story here, and I got about 55 seconds before I got to make this pick. So I will tell you this. So, I'm going to make the picks. I'm telling you, DK Metcalf, 5 years ago, he had 1,300 yards. He has been a 1,000-yard receiver in the 4 years since. But my question is why? Because you know what? I never take it as it is. And then I realized DK had his big season when the league was playing 1 high safety. 2022 and on, the league went to the 2 high look. Metcalf doesn't win against 2 high. Well, guess who he's playing for? The Pittsburgh Steelers. And with 3 tight ends on the field many times, guess who never could play too high against Pittsburgh? Any defense that faces them. So that said, I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to be. I'm not overly optimistic. But I do know that Metcalf is going to have a lot of 1 high safety. And if the ball gets in his hands on slants, over routes, deep routes, he's going to have a physical advantage. I really had to think that one through recently. And but I am very excited about DK Metcalf now. All right, let's go back to we got here. Chad, Cam Ward versus Easton Stick was not a pleasant viewing. No, I'm glad you're here because as much as we love Cam Ward, I don't think we like the preseason with Easton Stick in there. Chad, do you think people are a little worried about the strong OC? Yeah, right. Evans might end up looking like he did in Brady's final season where they couldn't. Yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions in Tampa. The longer we stew on this and we realize that Cohen called a perfect season with his big brain, there's no way to know if Josh Grizzard has that in his bag of tricks. Tyreek Hill falls to the middle of the 4th round as a 3rd receiver for Team 5 to go with CeeDee Lamb, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and Tyreek Hill is a 3rd. That's the point where it seems very intriguing. You've heard me say, especially at cost, I wasn't in on Hill because there's just so many red flags. Last year's 38th percentile yards after the catch, that wasn't his wrist. It was teams loading up in because they don't think Tua could beat him, and maybe a tiny bit of a loss of that elite crazy speed for Hill. He's not happy there. But at this point in the draft, that's a value. And then Travion Henderson, we have seen his ADP last week was running back 21. He had that game last Thursday night, and he's up to running back 17 now. The Ramondre Stevenson, per the head coach, his injury is minor. So I still think the 227 Stevenson gets a lot of the early down work. I think Henderson is kept fresh at 205. He'll get some carries. He'll get a lot of receiving work. But again, I get the excitement. And maybe it is that world where Henderson is so good they can't keep him off the field. Maybe that's the case. We will see. I do think that that backfield may be more split than people today are thinking, but that's me, right? Jalen Hurts off the board, and Hurts and Burrow back to back, and that was a big break between the top 2 quarterbacks. We went all the way through the 3rd, halfway through the 4th, and then Hurts and Burrow go off right after George Kittle. Think about Kittle. Could Kittle be in line in the best target season we've seen since early in his career. He's been 80 to 94 the last 4 years. But think about it. If Ayuk's going to be down, coach saying maybe week 6, we already got Jennings dealing with his issues, and maybe Kittle sees that 120 targets. Could you imagine George Kittle with 120 targets? Don't be surprised on 120 targets if Kittle outscores McBride and Bowers. Don't be surprised if that happens, because Kittle is in the stratosphere with 90. Cortland Sutton off the board is a number 3, goes to team 9. Malik Neighbors, Ladd McConkey, Cortland Sutton to go with Bucky Irving. Again, all these teams off to a nice start here. I like some different roster builds. 3 tight ends off the board, 4 quarterbacks off the board. We are nearing the end of the 4th round. This is the Rotowire NFFC Online Championship, $250K grand prize, full PPR, 6 points for passing touchdown, 0.05 points per passing yard, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, of course, a flex, 1 quarterback. 3rd round reversal we had. So if you're looking at the board and thinking it's weird, it's not. It's 3rd round reversal. Again, not best ball. Fully managed team with Fab. Top 2 teams in each league make the tournament for the big money. And then if you're the other team in the league has a lot of points, you can make it as a wild card. And I don't think it's just one. It's the cut line at that point for points. So however, make that cut for points. And I made it in one of my leagues last year. All right. So follow up Cortland Sutton. Xavier Worthy. I can't count how many receivers are off the board, but seeing him go after Cortland Sutton was a little bit different. We don't normally see that. And then Devontae Adams. Adams, I don't know if that's really a fall, maybe a slight one. And then Terry McLaurin. So you see Dan and Josh, they came up real sneaky, guys, real sneaky. Get that Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin pairing down there to go with JT, Ashton Genty, and Brian Thomas. Very slickly done. Yeah, I like that. Very nice call there. So we are in the 5th round now, and looking at some rosters here. So teams 1, 2, 3, and 12. 4 teams have 2 running backs. It's 1 through 4. So teams 1 through 4 have 2 running backs, and then you go to the rest of the board. Only team 12. So teams 5 through 11 have only gone with 1 running back each through 4.5 rounds. Jameson is a big receiver run. If you notice at the end of the 4th, you go Sutton, Worthy, Adams, and then sneaky Dan and Joshua Daniels, McLaurin, J-Mo, and George Pickens. So we see 6 receivers in a 7-pick stretch, to which Jim Coventry, who picks number 3, says, you know what? I'm glad I took 2 receivers because there might not have been a lot left on the board had I not. So we'll see how that shakes out. All right. Oh, so Jay, thank you. Oh, this is helpful. 23 receivers off the board. So yeah. So actually ADP's about right in these. Worthy's right about there. Sutton went a little early, which is fine. Kelvin Ridley. I don't know if everybody realized that a lot of you have been dialed in on this fantasy football with me. In April, Ridley was the wide receiver 42. He's now going at wide receiver 28, and he in this draft, you see. So at what point Jay told me it was 23, I'm not sure, but this is ahead of that range. It has to be, and I'm sure where it was at, Jay. But are we looking 26 on Ridley? But that's not surprising me. Look, Ridley is the clear by far number 1 receiver. I don't even know if they have a number 2, and so Ridley has 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons from week 8 on. I want to say he was averaging 72 yards at 14 PPR points. And even though we've heard earlier from Jay that Ward went 2 for 7 for 42 yards, I still have to think he's going to be at some point better than Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. Team 7 goes DeAndre Swift. They take their 2 running backs in rounds 3 and 5, Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift. Swift will have an excellent floor. It's been 253 and like 290 touches the last 2 years. I'm close on that. Top of my head, it's right around there. But he caught 42 passes last year. I do not view Roshan Johnson as competition lower than the 5th%. I shouldn't. This game's I won't talk about players who weren't drafted. I don't think Swift has much competition. So I think that he's going to have a good opportunity. The Bears line should be better. I do think that with the Bears defense, they're going to have to worry about the pass first. Oh no, don't time out. Hopefully that player in the queue. Otherwise, Rashee Rice goes to team 6, and that'd be Justin Jefferson, Oh, good. So, Jay, really exactly at ADP. Thank you. Wide receiver 28. Rashi Rice goes at 29. So that's why. But again, I don't. That player timed out. Hopefully, that player was in the queue. If that was the case, then I hope nobody gets out of a player they want. And we'll give a minute to see if somebody hits admin here. And I learned that last time that I got to see where that's at in case I have to. But of course, I don't even see it. All right. Oh, yeah, there. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so yeah, contact admin. So we'll see if that pick goes through and holds. See somebody's waiting, clock down a little bit because somebody knows this. They're really good at the NFC. We have Jeff in the house today, the admin, and yeah, they're really good about if you miss a pick, they can rewind and get your pick. Alvin Kamara goes here. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, I think I know where I want to go with this. Let me take a look here. Yeah, I might have a little fun with this one. Let's see. Yeah, I'm having a little fun with this one, I think. I assume the player will be here. Zay Flowers off the board. All right. So as we're looking, and again, ADP wise, there's a number of players I like here, and there's a player I normally would have taken in drafts, but I want to diversify a little bit here. So I'm gonna end up taking Jacoby Myers in a moment, and the reason I'm gonna take Myers over some other receivers is I really feel the Raiders are gonna give up a lot of points defensively, and I feel like Geno Smith is an upgrade on quarterback. Jacoby Myers had 1,000 yards this year. He's always over 800 otherwise, but this is really a situation, and I know Bowers is there, and I know they have Genty, but they're gonna have to throw the ball, and I really think Myers could do well. I think he's a high floor play, but I think there's some unrealized ceiling with Geno. So let's click on the draft button here. And let's add Jacoby Myers. There are other players that I had that I thought were more interesting, but they had, I think, a little more range of outcome, and I didn't really want to go that way. Ricky Pearsall with Tet McMillan, and then the pairing of James Cook and Josh Allen and Bijan Robinson for team 2. We're at turn right now, and I'm Chad. Let's see. And they usually place placeholder, plays the real. Oh, yeah, all right. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, thanks for telling me that, Chad. Thanks for telling me that. So, okay, so that probably was an actual pick then. Well, that's good because Rice is fine there. Depending, if you're not worried about this suspension, we don't know what it's going to be. We hear he's going to play the first 4 games and go from there. Team 1 is on the turn. They have Jamar Chase, Lamar Jackson, and then the running back duo of Ken Walker and Omari and Hampton. And I thought with the 3rd round reversal for Team 1, I think they did handle their running back position extremely well and balancing that off to, when you're starting out going receiver, quarterback, you always wonder what that's going to be. And Chuba Hubbard, a 3rd running back in here, so definitely played that well. All right. And then team 2, and team 1 has a 2nd pick here, and then I'm picking 3rd, so I'm 3 picks away here. I've got an idea where I want to go with mine. Let's take a look here real quick. All right, not optimal there. All right, perfect. All right, so we are in the 6th round of the NFFC Rotowire Online Championship, $250K grand prize to the winner in 12-team leagues. The top 2 teams will make the money field. If any other team in the league makes the points that will get you into the field, the team will qualify. Jalen Waddle goes off the board as a wide receiver 2 to team 1, and I am on deck. Romo Dunze goes. And all right, you know what? I am going to take one. I don't have many shares of him this year, but I've had shares every other year. And I do think here, I keep hearing the talk about the split backfield with Trey Benson and James Conner. But ultimately, James Conner, I still think heart and soul of the team. I still think there's no way he's not going to get the majority of the work. Caught 47 passes last year. Kyler threw 23% of his passes to running backs. It was high for him, which was really solid. So as my 3rd running back, I will take James Conner here. And if he misses a couple games, you know what? It's a 6th round pick. So we'll do that. So my roster is Saquon, Breece Hall, and James Conner with a triple M wide receiver room and a couple of initials guys, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, and Jacoby Myers. What I like about the Moore, Metcalf, Myers is they're mostly durable players. And I do, obviously Moore and Metcalf have ceiling. I think Myers has a good baseline. The risk with James Conner, of course, turning 30. But I love James Conner, and like I said, he didn't slow down last year. He's had his best fantasy season obviously was in 21, but his best yards per carry have been the last 2 years, 4.6, 5.0. Those are his first 2,000-yard seasons. Jerry Judy goes to team 4, and he's a player I would have considered over Jacoby Myers if Joe Flacco kept that job. And Judy had 1,200 yards with all kinds of quarterbacks. Judy's a great pick. They're going to have to throw. They got Denzel Ward at corner. They got Myles Garrett. Man, they lost J.O.K. at linebacker. They lost Martin Emerson at corner. It's a mess. And I don't think that defense, I think they got name brand, but I think they're going to give up points. And I think they're going to have to score a lot. And the offensive line, they're going back. Because we don't any longer have Deshaun Watson in the picture. So Stefanski's going back. They're not running spread anymore. He ran spread because of Watson. They're going back. They drafted Harold Fannin at tight end. They brought in Troy Harrison, the fullback. They're going back to playing 2 tight ends. They're going to use play action. They're going to throw off of that, protect their quarterback. Eventually, they hope their running back room is the way they want it. But I think overall, the line, most of those linemen were selected at times when they were running that system. And not all, DeJuan Jones wasn't, I believe, but he's, on and off as it is. But I think they're going to get back to being a good, well-coached offense with a good blocking scheme. I really like the idea of Jerry Judy here. And for team 4, it's a wide receiver trio of Evans, Zay Flowers, and Jerry Judy. Go with Travion Henderson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Brock Bowers. R.J. Harvey off the board to team 6 as their running back 2 behind Devon Achane to go with Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison, and Rashee Rice, and a little George Kittle. I like that team 5. They already got 4 receivers in the hopper: CeeDee Lamb, JSN, Tyreek Hill, and Emeka Ibuka to go with Josh Jacobs and Alvin Kamara. So far we are seeing how many teams? So we have the usual 5 quarterbacks at this point are off the board. So that's about right. The usual 3 tight ends. So that all goes to form. And as I was saying earlier, like some of these roster builds, and I'm noticing now we have 2 teams with 3 running backs, so team 1 and then myself. And we still have 3 teams at 1 running back. We have team 8, team 9, and team 11 and 1 running back. We see team 7 went to their 3rd running back here as well. And so Kyron Williams, DeAndre Swift, and Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson's growing on me. And I know camp reports haven't been great, but I'm just thinking it through. Just the fact they're going to be running 3 tight ends out there. And I know the studies show it's not efficient, but look, Najee Harris is just fine in that offense. So I really believe that they're going to get a lot of production in running game, and Warren's going to play a lot. Their defense, as long as their defense stays reasonably healthy, they're going to want to run the ball and they're going to want to play some defense. And I think this is perfect. And so I think Caleb Johnson is going to get a lot of work too. And I think that it's going to work really well. Henry, what do you got here? You just got here, Henry. Tyreek 41, Adams 40. You know what, Henry, it's this simple to me. The Matthew Stafford injury, if Jimmy Garoppolo's in, we already know Devontae Adams hates Jimmy G. And so if you think Stafford's going to miss time and Jimmy G and Devontae Adams have this corrosive relationship, it's tough. And then Tyreek, look, I've been preaching from the mountaintops. If you love him, go after him. But there's a lot of red flags for Tyreek, and one of them is his quarterback. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think as we get deeper into draft season, we're seeing people react differently. Stephon Diggs goes off the board to team 8. 4th receiver, Drake London, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley. Diggs is a number 4, is smart, solid. And then Travis Hunter is a 5th receiver for team 9. So that's a 1 running back, 5 receiver build. Neighbors, McConkey, Sutton, Devontae Smith, and Hunter. Now, the question I might ask people out there is this. You can start 3 receivers. You can start a flex. So in your first 6 picks, you are already taking a player who is on your bench in the 6th round. Because one of them, no matter who it is, but one of your players in your top 6 picks will be on the bench unless there's an injury or a bye week. And I get it, but I wonder how that people have tried that before. Maybe in the chat, if you've tried this before, let me know how that works out. Because to me, to think I'm putting a bench player in that quickly, it might work. And maybe it has worked. I just point of reference, I don't get it. Tony Pollard and David Montgomery do go off the board here. So this was a 5 running back round here. So, and coming off a previous 3 in the previous round, and then 2 the round before that. So the running backs were a little fast and furious the first 2 rounds. And then we definitely had a comeback here from the end of the 6th through the 7th round, and a lot of teams are now having their second running back. We still have Team 8 with just Chase Brown and Team 9 with just Bucky Irving, but everybody else is a couple. And Dan and Josh picking at 12. They're on the turn waiting their second pick. So, again, their running back room, Ashton Genty, Jonathan Taylor, some real big upside there. Receiver room, Brian Thomas, Terry McLaurin, who was paired up with Jaden Daniels, sneaky Dan and Josh. And then Addison and Shakir. I like the idea here. We know Addison's going to miss a few games. Fine. But if the offense is humming and passing, you got a 900-yard receiver, maybe better. And then Shakir with that high ankle sprain, people are a little squeamish on that. But if he comes back fine from that, and this is their 4th receiver, so they don't need him. They don't need him until the bye weeks. So if Shakir comes back healthy later, then that works out. Team 11 comes back, the David Montgomery, Aaron Jones stack with Derrick Henry to give them 3 running backs and 4 receivers at this point. So we're noticing the base of these teams really taking effect. I do, again, point out Team 8 and 9 have gone pretty heavy wide receiver. Team 11 not far behind. And then Team 1 with 2 receivers. The earlier teams in the draft, if you notice all the way teams 1 through 7, the lighter wide receiver builds are there. Team 2 and myself at Team 3 have 3, but then we're noticing, Team 5 is loaded up with 4, but then we have, 3 for Team 6, 2 for Team 7, 2 for Team 4. Deebo Samuel off the board here, and the longer Terry McLaurin misses, the more targets you wonder are going to end up Samuel's way. Still think overall the catch and run is going to work a bit for him in this offense if teams play them the way they did last year. Team 9 makes their second running back, Isaiah Pacheco, to pair with Bucky Irving. And let's see. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I could see Jalen Waddle getting a lot of catches. We'll see how that shakes out. But they do, with Jonnu Smith gone, it's 111 targets. And you can't throw any more to Achane than you already did, right? The running back run is continuing here. It started with, basically, I kind of, with me a little bit, maybe Chuba Hubbard, right? I went with Connor in the 6th round. And then we had RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson, Tony Pollard, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, Tyrone Tracy, and Joe Mixon. So it definitely has been a bit of a run on running backs. And Jay, what do you got in your league is 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flex with a tight end. Don't even try it out through the first 4 rounds with a running. Yeah. And the 2 flexes is huge because that does give you ability to be creative. All right, I'm on deck here. Let me take a quick look at where I think I'd like to go with this. All right, so we just had Chris Godwin go off the board, Team 6, wide receiver 4. I just read a report that they're considering PUP. All right, I am going to do so. All right, how much risk do I want to take on here? You know what? It's almost like a no guts, no glory thing. I know this cat misses too much time, but I do, as my wide receiver 4, I really feel at this draft spot in the end of the 7th round, I feel that I have no opportunity. This is right about as ADP as it is, which would be neither here nor there. But I really do want to take my shot on Chris Olave. I know the concussions are brutal, and I know the quarterbacks are brutal. But every team is going to throw for 2,500 yards, right? And at this point, when he's healthy, whenever Olave's gotten 6 targets in a game in his career, he's almost money for 80 yards. I know there's a lot of downside there, but again, it's my 4th receiver. And if things somehow pan out, I just think for me that kind of works. Tyler Warren off the board. So now Tyler Warren goes off the board as the 5th tight end. Now he's been going, he was earlier tight end 11. After the game last week, he was tight end 9, tight end 5 here. Very, very interesting. But he had that game. My question was, when he had that game, there was no Michael Pittman. There's no Josh Downs, and who else is going to catch the ball? But that said, I know people love Tyler Warren, and I understand. But I still think that how much are they going to pass? And we'll see. We'll find out. But I think Tyler Warren is going to be a fun player, and some people who are in, I hope they're right. And I hope he ends up being that tight end 5. But you know what? Realistically, Kelsey's getting older, and we got other. I'm not going to talk games, no gamesmanship here. So other tight ends in that range, they all have questions, right? Cooper Kupp off the board. Team 1, a wide receiver trio of Chase, Waddle, and Cooper Kupp to go. I got a little Seattle pairing in there with Kenneth Walker as well. Evan Ingram goes off the board. Jordan Mason, the 3rd running back to Team 2, and I'm on the clock here. You know what? It's a long way back to me. I don't want to play chicken. And everybody out there who knows me knows who I'm taking here, right? Because it's the 8th round and won't be picking for a while till was that pick 100 or something like that, or something like that, maybe after that. So yeah, I'm taking my guy here. There's other quarterbacks ranked higher. I'm a Dak Prescott guy. I think they're going to throw the tar out of the football all year. Yeah, Henry knew it. We love you guys. You guys are the best. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but yeah, I'm a Dak Prescott guy this year. I think that defense doesn't have a lot of issues. Randy, same thing. You guys are the best. Got that. Got that. You guys totally do that. I'm not surprised. Hey, at least I'm on brand. At least I don't give people advice that I can't follow myself. I'm always good for that one, right? So there's that. Baker Mayfield goes right after Prescott. So maybe I did the right thing by taking my quarterback here. We'll see. If he's the only other quarterback till my next turn, then maybe I made the wrong move. Or maybe I took the wrong quarterback. I hope I didn't. At Baker Mayfield, what's not to love? And you know what? Don't throw shade on Baker Mayfield because of last year, right? Oh, Henry, oh my God, you're so right. I probably have moved Dak up a full round of ADP. So I'm at the Kings Classic auction last week, 14 teams, and I'm trying to get a quarterback cheap. And I know how these auctions go. Normally, if it's a bottom end starting quarterback in most people's eyes, you get him cheap. Well, I bid Dak, and Dak goes up to $12. I ain't paying $12 for Dak. Ain't doing it. Top quarterback is 23. So, all right, let that go. All right, let me try to sneak another. I won't say his name because I'm no gamesmanship. So I take him in a lower ranked quarterback. That quarterback goes to 9. All right, I ain't playing that. So finally, I'm like, if that's the way it's going to be, Jalen Hurts was left 17. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather have Jalen Hurts for 17 than Dak for 12. So just went with it. But that's about the auction. If you guys play in auctions, all these auctions, you gotta go with the flow. You got to figure out where the auctions are going. Auctions are crazy, but they're fun. They're fun. And you know what? J Cred 101. Yeah, a lot of people love Bo Nix, and I get it. He was phenomenal in the second half of the season. Those who follow me, my concern. I believe that you add Shade Barrett at corner, you add Drake Greenlaw at safety, you add Talanoa Hufanga at safety. If I didn't say Greenlaw as a linebacker, I meant that. I don't know if I misspoke. But you add those three. That good defense, it could be incredible. They couldn't run the ball last year, so Nix had to run on his own. They had to throw more than they wanted. If Harvey and Dobbins work out at all behind that great line, this team's going to play defense. They're going to run the football. And Bo Nix can be a game manager. Unless you think they're scoring 40 points a game. I don't see that. I think the defense is going to keep games lower scoring. That's why I'm out, and again, on him. So that's it. All right. Jawan Jennings goes in the 8th round, dealing with that calf injury. So I think there's a bit of an injury discount here. And so, but Team 5 as their 5th wide receiver, it's great to take a player who you expect will be better soon. And if you get him as your 5th receiver, because now, all right, so if Jennings' calf is messed up and they rest him, and now you got him later, yeah, I think that's a bet you make, right? And thank you for commenting back, J Cred 101. But again, I don't blame somebody for taking Bo Nix, because if your belief is that Denver is going to keep throwing, then you got to do that. And the ADP says I'm in the minority. And you get my background. I'm a football guy, and that doesn't make me better or worse. It's just, I know the numbers, but I try to extrapolate how a team's going to play. And I might be wrong as much as everybody else, if not more. But yeah, that's my paradigm on it. All right, let's get back to the picks here. Brian Robinson goes to Team 6 as a 3rd running back. Devon Achane, RJ Harvey, Brian Robinson. After that, Chris Godwin pick. Travis Kelce goes to Team 7. So Kelce falls a bit. Kelce had often been the tight end 5, but 1, 2, 3, 4, so 7 here. So Kelce going as the tight end 7. So very interesting with that. Bit of a fall, but not much. And, the age-old question with Kelce, age-old, nice, didn't mean that, but I kind of did mean it. So, yeah, Kelce lost some weight. I think they try to mitigate father time. J Red thinks out on Dak or Kelce. I'm kind of out on Kelce because the yards after the catch were horrible. When they needed him in the playoffs, he wasn't really there. And I think Father Time's catching up fast. And if Rashee Rice is on the field when it's a money round, he's getting the ball, and they got Worthy. Who knows if Hollywood Brown's healthy? So yeah, I'm a little bit out on him. So Dan and Josh, they take Josh Downs here. And again, as a 5th receiver, because Downs, he's dealing with a soft tissue injury right now, and it just came up recently. So, but again, taking him here, and that's close to his ADP anyway. But as a depth piece, Josh Brown's down, as I always say, he's quarterback proof. So if he's hurt right now, hopefully they get him healed up. And Travis Etienne, as a running back 3 in a PPR league, I've been, and Dan and Josh and I talked about this in Canton when we were there last week, that Liam Cohen crafts an incredible screen game. And that's where Etienne's value is. It's, Tank Bigsby might get some early down grinder work. He might get goal. He might. Etienne played with the ones. I think Etienne is not frozen out of the early down work. I don't think he's frozen out. Maybe he'll be the backup there. But I think as a receiver, they have to throw him the ball because he is a dynamic playmaker in space. And I know they drafted Bashal Tootin, but I think if you're in a PPR league, you got to strongly consider Travis Etienne. We got Mark Andrews and TJ Hawkinson off the board going right about on time where the tight ends had been going. So solid move there. Get those 2 good tight ends there. Mark Andrews. Remember Mark Andrews last year, 4 games, 2 goose eggs. He was coming off. There's a broken leg or ankle. I can't remember the hip drop tackle from 2023, week 11, and then the car accident and those things. And Andrews was playing from that point on. It was 4.6 targets a game, but he was so effective. Remember, against the Ravens, teams cannot put defenders back. You got Derrick Henry, you got Lamar Jackson. So Lamar had a career high 8.8 yards per attempt, which was better than the 8.0, which was the second best of previous year, which means they are calling the shots downfield, knowing the defenses, they don't have a choice. You have to stop Henry and Jackson on the ground. So Mark Andrews, does he get a 20% touchdown rate again? Probably not. But I contend that you have to really think about it because if defenses have to play him that way, Andrews has proven over the years that he can win. He can totally win with that downfield move to his tight end. So 20% again, maybe not. Jake Ferguson off the board to team 8. So we have 1, 2. And team 10 went with 2 tight ends so far. So McBride and Hawkinson. No, we're good there. All right, and let's see here. We are on team 7 as we're working our way through here. All right, looking at the board ahead here. I'm planning out my next pick. All right, good there. Michael Pittman off the board. Yeah, Pittman, again, dealing with some stuff. And so Pittman's going to be interesting here. But, of course, he was hurt last year. His back was broke, maybe, possibly. I remember he said it was like season ending, and he played through it. So a warrior for sure. Again, I don't know how much they're going to pass, but at this value, Pittman's a great value at this point. All right, let's see what else we got here. Jay Cred, Etienne could come back later. You know what? Yeah, he definitely can, especially with the bar he set last year. So, yeah, definitely could be on. Bo Nix, there you go, Bo Nix. So, since I took Prescott, we had Mayfield, Mahomes, and Nix go. So I do think I was probably okay taking the quarterback there. I don't think I necessarily started a quarterback run. I think this is where they naturally occur. So I was kind of good with that. And let's see here. What else we want to do? All right. Get a strategy here for my next pick coming up in a couple here. So, again, Bo Nix at team 6, and I'm saying they had a matchup. No, I was going to say they had a matchup with any Broncos. No, but that's fine. Team 6, Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison, Rashee Rice, Chris Godwin. Go with running backs, Devon Achane, R.J. Harvey, Brian Robinson, and then the quarterback tight end duo, Bo Nix and George Kittle. And Jay, I'll post that later because of the gamesmanship, but I would like to talk about that player when he goes off the board for sure. Excited about that. Team 5 is about 5 seconds on the clock, so hopefully they're making their pick pretty quickly here. Let's see here. Javonte Williams. All right, let's see what I want to do here. All right. And team 4 is on the clock here. Charlene's in the house. Hopefully all has been well with you. Been doing so many social media videos that I don't get to do as many of these as I would like. And Jay Cred, I see you bring that again. Any player wasn't drafted. I'll talk about those players later. But yep, definitely an interesting player that Jay Cred brings up. But again, gonna wait on that. So 29 seconds left for team 4. And team 4 right now, Brock Bowers at tight end, Baker Mayfield at quarterback, Quinshon Judkins. There it goes, 9th round. Puts me on the clock here. Everybody knows Jake Ferguson's one of my targets. He is off the board, but I definitely have a real nice consolation prize in my mind. One, David Njoku, who I'll click on in about 15, 20 seconds. David Njoku, I'll say this. as long as Flacco's a starter, remember the last 5 games Njoku and Flacco played, Flacco was the tight end one. Now, the first game he didn't do anything, but those 5 games after, including an NFL playoff game, Njoku was clearly a top target. Hurt last year, he was on pace for 150 targets. At the top of my head, I think that's right. So you know what? Love David Njoku, love Ferguson, but David Njoku, I'm definitely not going to whine about here and make him my tight end off the board in the end of the 9th round. Probably about the 10th tight end, Keon Coleman off the board. All right, let's see. So team 2 started out Josh Allen, and then they paired him with James Cook in the 3rd after the Bijan Robinson in the first round, and then came back strong with a few receivers: Tet McMillan, Ricky Pearsall, Romo Dunze, Tyler Warren, Jordan Mason, and then came back with another receiver, Keon Coleman. I like Coleman this year. Coleman before that wrist injury, he was just coming on. It was like a 4-week stretch. Averaging about 52 yards, I believe it was, 0.4 of a touchdown, 5.2 targets, I think it was. He was coming on. And then we learned that when he came back, he didn't do anything. He had a chipped bone in his wrist. So now it makes sense why they didn't really get him involved. Team 1, about 15 seconds on the clock here. I'm looking at their turn picks. They have Lamar Jackson, a quarterback, Evan Ingram, a tight end, running back trio, Ken Walker, Omarion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, wide receiver room, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, and Keenan Allen, the ageless man. About 770 yards for Keenan Allen, I think, last year. It'll be interesting with Keenan Allen. Now, apparently the word I've heard from their beat reporter is that Keenan Allen is more likely than not to play the Z receiver on the outside, Lad McConkey playing in the slot. My question becomes this: when it's a 3rd down, money down, Justin Herbert has complete confidence in McConkey, but he also has complete confidence in Keenan Allen. And I wonder how that split is going to be. So it's just interesting. And the end of the 9th round is a good place to take Keenan Allen, because Justin Herbert will get him the ball. I mean, the team wants to run and play defense, but their defense may not be as good as we think. They were benefited by the schedule last year. When they had tougher games, teams were shredding them. Jaden Higgins, I'm on the clock here. All right, let's see what I want to do here. I could wait there. And I'm taking a quick look before I go, or something else I'm going to have to address later. I am really, you know what? I'm going to take this player here. It's been moving up my draft board a little bit. I'm going to go with Christian Kirk here. Christian Kirk, I expect to play the slot. I know they drafted Jalen Noel, the 3rd round, 15th pick. But Christian Kirk, when he's healthy, and that's been the knock, he's missed a bunch of games the last 2 years. But when he's healthy, been a very reliable slot, and I think he'll work really well with C.J. Stroud. So let's just draft Christian Kirk as my 5th receiver. Yeah, I like him there. I like slot receivers, especially when they're very talented players. So we'll see what goes on for that. So Eric asked back to the early draft why I took Breece Hall in the 2nd round. So as we went through the running backs off the board, I took him ahead of Ken Walker. Let's see, we're going this way. So it was a 3rd round reversal. I took him ahead of Taylor, and I mentioned I was out on Taylor because of the injury history. Remember, the only time that Breece Hall missed him was that ACL that first season. So the health for Hall more likely there. Kyron Williams, I'm very worried about the Rams. Alaric Jackson, blood clots. Their quarterback has back issues, so I'm very concerned about the offense. If they crumble at quarterback, that whole offense implodes. Breece Hall is on record as having said, and sorry to people hearing this for the 20th time of listening to weeks, Breece Hall is on record saying he played through a sprained MCL last year, and you get him back to full health. He was a middle first round pick last year, and it was rightfully so, but he had a bad year. If it was a knee injury, I'll buy that all day long. And now you give him Justin Fields. And I talk all the time about the hyper mobile quarterback. When you have those guys and they do RPO looks, linebackers are on their heels, not their toes. We see it all the time. And that means the running back has an advantage in leverage. And with defenses playing 2 linebackers at a time, I believe Breece Hall, and they built that line. The line is good. So I really am in on Breece Hall. Usually I would get him in the 3rd round, but who was on the board at that point? I felt comfortable. Josh Jacobs was already gone. I was comfortable taking him there. Realistically, I guess I won't. Taylor's injuries worry me too much. And there was no other running back I would have considered at that point, but I wanted 2 running backs. I did want to start 2 running backs, and at this point, I have 3. So that was my reasoning behind that one for sure. All right. See what else we got here. We got Charlene, you're bringing up a player. I'll come up later in this draft, so I will talk about that player and the players drafted. I don't like to do the gamesmanship thing about players, but I will happily talk about that. But any player who's on the board and been drafted, bring up that player, and I'm happy to talk shop there. So, all right, we just had after I took Rashid Shaheed off the board as a 5th receiver to team 4, and then Trey Benson off the board. All right, let's see what we got here. Waiting for the sticker to disappear. All right. So Trey Benson. And now the backfield for team 5, you start with Josh Jacobs and Alvin Kamara. And then you come back with Javonte Williams and Trey Benson. And so again, Benson clearly will have some role, but if Connor misses time, could be a really big deal. Isaac Guerendo. Guerendo did go to the McCaffrey team. So obviously taking that as a handcuff purpose, which smart move, especially in a light running back build. You notice team 10 has McCaffrey and then Pollard was solid in the 6, but then no real backup. So getting Guerendo there makes sense. We've seen team 11 double up on tight end going Mark Andrews and Dalton Kincaid. Tucker Kraft went up the board to team 9. So we're and then let's call him Bill. Ja'Cory Krowski married, must be called Bill now. So yeah, Dan and Josh came out. They really came out hot on receivers the last 6 or so rounds. After taking Brian Thomas in the 2nd, they went McLaurin, Addison, Shakir, Downs, and Mooney. So a number of players that are either currently hurt, not playing, or suspended. But between that group, it's a good hedge because if it gets Dan and Josh through to the money round, and if all these guys are past their situations and good to go in the money rounds, this is the lineup they're looking to construct to try to take down a tournament. So it totally makes sense there. Let's see what we got here. Thoughts on rookie running backs, can't draft. It all depends on situation, Jay Cred. Before, now Judkins, this one went in the 9th round, but before Judkins had the suspension, and not suspension, but he had the legal issue that we thought, I was willing to draft him as running back 22. And it's about a little ahead of ADP. I was happy to do that because I was saying earlier, Stefanski's going back to the roots. They're going back to the fullback, and they're going back to the 2 tight ends, and they're going to block the old scheme where the run, the line is good. So I was good with that. It all depends on situation. And then tapping to that, Charlene asked about Travion Henderson. Last week, he was the running back 21. He returns a kickoff for a touchdown. Now he's a running back 17. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one because that's a big chunk of ADP on a kickoff return. And I know he had an 18-yard play as well. So there was that. But it was interesting. So, it's tough because that ADP really shot up. Right, let me take a look here. I'll be up on a few picks. I got a little while. So we had Brock Purdy goes to team 11. So team 11 is one of the teams that waited on quarterback. We got a really nice player in the 11th round. So very, very well done by team 11 there. And yeah, J Red. My thing with Indy and Tyler Warren, I think Tyler Warren's going to be a very nice player in the NFL. But my concern is this. It's that they're going to run. Taylor was averaging 25 carries down the stretch last year. Their quarterbacks are bad, so they're going to try to limit the passing attack. And I believe that we're going to see Warren runs possession routes. He's not a seam stretcher. He's not a separation guy. He's a very good possession receiver. But Pittman's a possession receiver as well. So I think on the few targets they have, I think they're – again, one's in the middle of the field and Pittman's off on the outside, but it's kind of redundant possession targets. So I'm just worried that the lack of volume, and I don't think Warren dominates possession targets, and that's my concern. Now, if I'm wrong, and then, Warren investors win big. Ray Davis off the board after Luther Burden and Joshua Palmer. We had a little Tank Bigsby go as a 5th running back to team 9, piling him up. Jadon Blue as a 4th running back to team 10. All right, let's see what we got here. And I'm coming up on a few picks here. And team 5 coming up, they got that receiver build of CeeDee Lamb, JSN, Tyreek Hill is a 3. That has a 3. That's solid. Emeka Ibuka and Juwan Jennings there. The running back room of Josh Jacobs, Alvin Kamara, Javonte Williams, and Trey Benson. And then a tight end, Sam Laporta. So that'll be good here. And see, I got comments mostly taken down. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. So again, Ray Davis off the board to go at Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, now Braylon Allen's in on the action. And so we're definitely, and Tyler Algier goes, all right. What do I do here? Take one look here. You know what? The way this board is going, and I think having running back depth will be important. So I am going to take a depth piece here, and I'm going to go with Ramondre Stevenson. He's getting cheaper because obviously, as Travion Henderson got steamed up after the big preseason game, now Ramondre is taking a dip. And you see the running backs flying off the board, and we're reading the board here. And at this point, so we see since the middle of the 10th round, Benson, Harris 2, Dowdle 3, Garendo 4, Krosky Merritt 5, Blue 6, Bigsby 7, Davis 8, Braylon Allen 9, Algier 10. I took the 11th running back that went in just over a round, and then Bashal Tootin followed him up. And I almost felt like there, if you don't take a running back there, and depending how your tiers are marked, you miss out. And I really think having 4 running backs is an important element here. So, yeah, definitely got to go that route. So as we get to the Bashal Tootin pick for team 2, they have Jordan Mason as well to go with James Cook and Bijan Robinson. I do like that collection of running backs. Mason is in a good opportunity in what I think will be a play defense, run the ball team on a revamped offensive line. Mason sharing with Aaron Jones should be a solid role for both of them. Bashal Tootin, a lot of people betting heavy on him, but in the 11th round, that's not a big bet. That's a reasonable bet, right? Yeah, Team 11 back-to-back. Yeah, right? Exactly, Jay. The back-to-back tight end move was nice by Team 11 for sure. So Team 1 is on the clock, and after adding Keenan Allen and Jaden Reed, they throw in a little Hollywood Brown love there to go Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, and Jamar Chase. So you got the big number 1 in Jamar, and then you got 5 pieces beyond that. And now the seal has been broken on the defenses. Round 12, that Denver Broncos. There we have it. All right. And I'm going to be on deck here in a moment. And yeah, there's 2 ways to go about this. All right, I'm going to check something on the board here before I go. All right. You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to do something I've kind of done. This is a little later. I believe that if you're looking to take down these tournaments, and there's Fab, and I get it, but I still think that I want to have 2 quarterbacks. And look, as much as I love to ask Dak, he's missed time in 2 of the last 4 years. So I am going to take myself the upside guy in here to pair in case he misses time. And I'm going to take Justin Fields here. We'll go that route. Yeah. And then the 12th round, you got to have 2 quarterbacks in these things. I just don't think you could win a tournament. Obviously, if you're drafting like Lamar or Josh Allen or one of the top few guys, then I think you're going in saying you're making your statement. But if you're waiting a bit, you realize you love a player, but you also realize there are other realities. So you got to be prepared for that. So, Jay Craig, thank you for that. Yeah, and the running quarterbacks, they're gold in these things and any fantasy. So, yeah, I just think that works out there. Randy, and you know what's funny, though? I have shares of Fields, but as I looked at my portfolio, it ended up being less than I thought. That was interesting, but I do have enough. But, yeah, I haven't overindulged. Like, here, I have my list of FFPC teams. So, I got him in 3 out of 4. Okay. So, but in other leagues, I'm less exposed. Like I didn't give him the Kings Classic. Yeah. So, but yeah, I do have him now in 3 out of 4 with Prescott, of course. So Marvin Mims goes off the board. Yeah, Jake Craig. He had Justin Fields had 1,143 rushing yards in 2022, and then he missed 4 games in 2023. But he was still on an 850 pace. Even with Pittsburgh, as bad as it was last year, he was on like an 800 plus yard, pace there, and those were safe runs. So yeah, it's the running thing here. Kyler Murray off the board to team 4, breaking the seal on their quarterback currently. So let's see who needs a quarterback. Team 9 has waited on a quarterback, but everybody else has one at this point. Charlene, the Madden curse. It's funny, and somebody said this at the Expo weekend. It was like the Madden curse basically means you had a career year or something close to that, and not too many people follow up a career year with a career year. So, it's always like that's probably the probability, but I think injury happens a lot to those guys too. So, It's interesting. Jay, so if I'm looking to take down a tournament, Justin Fields legitimately, look, I don't think there's a stretch in the offense they're going to run there from all I've heard. It's going to be 900 plus rushing yards. And I say this every year. Tim Tebow, he was a quarterback one and he couldn't throw the football. If you have that kind of rushing ability, it's a slate breaker. So if that goes down on me, I give me the slate breaker. Drake May's a really good quarterback. But if Mike Vrabel gets his way, the defense, they have an easy schedule. If they have an easy schedule and they're leading games, do you think Mike Vrabel's really going to turn Drake May loose? The Jets are going to trail almost every week. They're bad, and their schedule is a little tougher. But I really think at the end of the day, if Mike Vrabel has it his way, they're going to run the ball. They're going to control things. They're going to keep things close. They're going to play situational football. So yeah, I get it. And May's going to be a very nice player. I just don't know how weaponized he'll be here. All right, another run of running backs again. So after I took Fields, Dylan Sampson goes off the board, and then after Kyler Murray, see Jalen Wright in Miami, Tyjae Spears, and then Jerome Ford. So these rounds 9 through 12 have definitely seen many teams addressing their running back. Brandon Ayuk. So that's about 142 picks into the draft. If my poor math, it actually says 140. So yeah, 142. And that's right about where I took him in the Kings Classic. I think that is the point in the draft where you have enough players that have questions. And if you're going to push for a $250K grand prize, and now you're just talking a complete depth piece. Like for Team 10, we're looking at the 5th receiver of Ayuk. You're not drafting him because you need him. You're drafting him because you think your team's going to get where it needs to go. And then you are going to be able to have Ayuk hopefully recovered for a big run down the stretch. It's a risk, but at 140 picks, the risk is really minimized. The risk, the cost has minimized that risk. So I think that's where it works. Look at the players around him. Rashad Bateman had a nice season last year. Romeo Dobbs, has his, pluses and minuses. But at the end of the day, if you tell me Brandon Ayuk is in that spot, are Dobbs and Bateman winning my league? Probably not. Can Ayuk, if it works out at that draft cost? Yeah. So I think that's smart. And then Dan and Josh take Jalen McMillan. And look, we're hearing reports that Godwin could end up on PUP and miss time, and maybe McMillan gets in more playing time than we thought. So again, taking him in the 12th round, a lot of things can happen, and injuries happen. So again, making a depth piece. And again, I really like the wide receiver room that Team 12, Dan and Josh have put together, because they have a lot of situations that could break different ways. But with that portfolio, they've kind of made it a point where they can, capitalize on that. All right, we are in round 13 now of the Rotowire Online Championship, the NFFC. Love those guys. Tom Kesenick, Greg Ambrose do a wonderful job over there. We're playing for $250,000 grand prize. This is full PPR, 6 points per passing touchdown, 0.05 points per passing yard. We start quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a flex. If I didn't say tight end, I didn't say it now. Got that. 3rd round reversal. If you're looking back at the draft board, that is why it looks a little different than maybe some other drafts might. This is not best ball. It's full season fab. Top 2 teams in each 12-team league do make the postseason to play for the 250, but there are wild card spots for points scored. Also, I want you to know that Sirius XM, I will be on Fantasy Sports Radio Saturday and Sunday, 2 to 4. Love you to join the channel and listen to us there. NFFC and Rotowire, we do a high stakes weekly show on XM Channel 87 every Thursday. I just moved from Wednesday to Thursday, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern, but you can always catch it on the XM app if you have XM. So love that. And remember, rotowire.com, my articles are there. All my videos are obviously on the Rotowire YouTube and all the socials. And I do a lot on my @Jim Coventry NFL on the X. I put out threads, stats of the day every day. But my articles are behind the paywall. And if you want to subscribe to Rotowire to see those, I can get you 15% off. Go to rotowire.com and pick your subscription. You use the code YouTube15 at checkout. All right, let's recap the last few picks of the 13th round. Hunter Henry off the board. Wan'Dale Robinson, PPR Gold, 140 targets last year. Rashad White dealing with a little bit of an injury. His draft stock went down, and Team 10 scooped up the value. Justin Herbert is the quarterback 1 for Team 9. If that was their strategy, great. If they played chicken and they ended up waiting. But you know what? Lots of strategies. Nick Chubb off the board to Team 7. I was drafting him weeks ago in about the 11th round, and I just haven't heard enough from camp to make me think that the man is back to where he was. That saddens me. I hope he is. I hope that he gets back to full health and everything's okay. But it was real frustrating to hear that maybe the recovery isn't as we would have liked it to be. All right, we are Kyle Williams off the board to Team 6. New England Patriots, 3rd round draft pick. That is the 4th receiver for Team 6. Justin Jefferson, Marvin Harrison, make that the 5th receiver. Rashee Rice, Chris Godwin, then Kyle Williams added. Team 6 went heavy on running back from the 6th round on. Harvey, Brian Robinson, Najee, Ray Davis, Jalen Wright. Of course, you go with Devon Achane, their 2nd round pick. Looking at Team 1, we go back here. I took 3 running backs in the 3rd through 5th. Ken Walker, Omarion Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, and really feels comfortable there because then went very wide receiver heavy after that. And there we go with that. All right, so now Team 5 doubled up on quarterback, rounds 12 and 13. Went a little Kyler Murray and some Drake May. Double up there and get all set there. Team 4 is on the clock here. Started out, and Jared Goff. All right, you know what? I am going to go with a tight end here, and I actually am going to take Jonnu Smith. Here's why. 2 years ago in Atlanta, Jonnu Smith was playing with Arthur as a 2nd tight end. Remember, Kyle Pitts was the number 1. Smith had a career year at 583 yards at the time, and he was traded for. And I do believe that there were like almost 1,200 receiving yards between Pitts and Smith, and I believe Smith was brought there to be weaponized. They're going to use him really as a de facto 2nd receiver out of heavy personnel. So I do think, look, it's a 13th round pick, and he's my 2nd tight end. But yeah, I'm definitely going to go that route with Jonnu Smith. All right. And we move to Kyle Pitts, the aforementioned Kyle Pitts off the board here. A lot of people are liking Pitts. The draft value is fair at this point. At this point, you can't argue with a 13th round pick at the end of 13 on Kyle Pitts. The rookie year, he had 1,000 yards. But the last few years have never come close to what we hope we would see. But hope springs eternal. And Michael Penix gets rolling as a passer, and Pitts gets integrated a little more. And I think he was dealing with a little something toward the end of last season. So that may have been part of that as well. So again, Kyle Pitts off the board. All right, let me take a look further ahead here. Yeah, all right. I think I'm getting a good idea where I want to go with this next pick. I tell everybody, you could do this on almost every site, obviously, but preset your draft order, your draft board, and the sites just let you go through so I can talk through this whole draft, and my order is up. I just click the position, look where they're at, and it's all done. So stress-free here, there's no thinking about picks. It's just, I'm just playing chess on the board, trying to see how, picks, how many picks a few rounds away do I have to target a position now or later. That's really my only choice when a pick comes up. It's like, don't play checkers, play chess. How do I need to deal with position attrition? And because a lot of drafts, I had gone like a couple quarterbacks back to back in these things, and I was looking at the way this one was rolling out. I go, you know what? I'm going to be able to wait on that 2nd quarterback. So I waited 4 rounds to take my 2nd quarterback. Again, it's reading the board that's in front of you, and even tight end. I felt like I could, I have 4 rounds between tight ends, and I felt that worked for me. But every draft, every auction, it's a snowflake, and some are close. And then finally, J Red got his wish. We got us a little Dallas Goedert on the board. And then Woody Marks goes. All right, let me see here. I did say who I wanted to take, but let me just double check this. Oh, wait. All right, you know what? No, I thought I wanted to do that, but now I don't want to do that. So I am gonna I think I'm going to take another running back for some depth here. I only have 4 on the team. Aging player over 30 now. We hate that. But I still think as a receiving back, I think Austin Eckler will get some work. Again, it's my 5th receiver. It's the 14th round. A lot of receivers are going. So, yeah, give me a shot on Austin Eckler when he's healthy. If I need somebody, catch some passes for me. So that'll work out there. Again, is anybody super excited about their picks in this round? Probably not. Now, in the 13th round, we did see a mini run on quarterbacks. We saw Drake May, Jared Goff, and CJ Stroud. I love the CJ Stroud pick. And Stroud is going between quarterback 18 and 20, and I'm not counting how many are on the board here. I couldn't tell you how many there are, but it's probably close to that. And look, CJ Stroud had a great rookie year. And last year, those who listen to me know I had a theory why I faded him last year. But realistically, he didn't see too high safeties a lot as a rookie because they were playing with fullbacks on the field. They were using the 49ers, Dolphins, and Ravens model. And then last year they cut their fullbacks. And I said, well, man, he's going to see a steady diet of too high. And I faded him, and it worked. But here's the thing. Stroud learned last year, and he makes his adjustments. So he'll still sees too high, but now he's ready for him. The first year, he didn't see a lot of it. So he didn't have to make those adjustments. But last year, it blindsided him, and there was no preparation from the coaching staff to help him. So, yeah, all that said, I really think CJ Stroud makes his adjustment on the league, and I think he's criminally undervalued. I think he's an amazing quarterback, too. And I think there's a case where with CJ Stroud, look, if you really wanted to punt quarterback all the way, it's dangerous. But if you went in as your quarterback 1, I wouldn't do it myself, but I certainly wouldn't fade it. So, team 5 triples up on quarterback. Little Kyler Murray, Drake May, and Caleb Williams. Interesting. All very good players. All, as of right now, high floor. Not sure of the upside on any. I think Williams could really have upside if that Bears offense works. So, Jay's asking about Dallas Goedert. Always loved Goddard. It's been, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, the health. It's been the missed time. He misses at the most inopportune times. It's all injury. And the older you get, the more prone, I think, personally, you are to injury. And it's problematic for me. So if I knew Goddard would be on the field 15 games and healthy, I'd take him rounds earlier, right? And I still think, look, the whole public's fading the Eagles, that they're not going to run. They're going to pass. The offensive line is still really good, and they still could bully teams. And honestly, in a lot of ways, you're going to laugh. Barkley could play better. Barkley's broken tackle rate in yards after contact was not great last year, but he had so much free yardage from the line. A lot of it was him just having to make a play and then be gone. But I think Barkley could do more if, breaking tackles a little better, a little more after contact. Well, because a lot of he wasn't contacted and he ran 60 yards. So I guess that didn't even help his numbers. All that said, I think they're going to run the ball. And so ultimately, you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, and Goddard's kind of the third wheel. And I love Goddard, but I just don't know the reason. Will Shipley goes here to Team 9. So if Saquon misses time, Will Shipley could find himself into a nice little workload. Heard he's very impressive as a receiver in the intra scrimmages teams were playing. Taj Brooks going in the end of the 14th round. We had Adam Thielen. Thielen, look, as long as he's been on the field lately, he's been producing in these last couple of years with Carolina. This has nothing to do with the Thielen pick, but here's the deal. Everybody seems to be super excited about Bryce Young. 4 of the last 5 games, his high watermark was 203 yards. I want to say in that Atlanta game, top of my head, and I could be wrong, I think that crazy shootout where I think there were 90 points, I think he only threw for 250 in that game. So, but those other 4 games, like less than 200 yards. And if this guy's throwing for less than 200 yards, how are all the receivers going off? Oh, Ted McMillion's going off, and Adam Thielen's going to be great, and Coker's going to get in there, and Xavier Leggett could get. Where's the yardage coming from? And I still look. This is my theory, and I could be a million miles off on this. I think when teams faced Bryce Young late last season, they laughed throughout the week. You can't, as a former athlete, you are told every team is dangerous. But, man, when you know an opponent's not dangerous, mentally, that mental switch, I call it, the subliminal switch, that switch goes off. and you are not showing up for that game. Defenses were not geared up and excited to play the Panthers. It was a bye week for him, probably. So we'll see what Bryce. And I hope the kid does fine. I look, nice young man, got some talent. Hope he plays well. We'll see. All right. So saw Dan and Josh double tap tight end. Well, not double tap, kind of staggered it. Hunter Henry, and they come back with Zach Ertz, get himself a baseline, a tight end, waiting till the 12th, 13th, to 14th round, and then the double pick Ertz and Trevor Lawrence as a number 2 behind Jaden Daniels. And I do love Trevor Lawrence as the number 2 pick this late. You heard me say about the decision-making with Lawrence. I don't buy into it. Liam Cohen's there. I don't think Baker Mayfield is as bad as anybody thought. He had Baker Mayfield had 4 seasons that were better than anything Lawrence. But that said, if you're taking Lawrence this late, and if Daniels misses time, and if it works out for Lawrence, wow, it could be really, really good. And Jay Red said, if you believe in the Madden curse, then Shipley is a must-add, and I 100% agree with you on that. Charlene, what do you think about that Madden curse? Are you in on that now or not so much? Michael Penix goes as a second quarterback to T9 with Justin Herbert. Now we're starting to see the second quarterbacks come into play here. So I was a little early on mine taking Fields. That was right after Kyler Murray. And then we had Stroud, Goff. Oh, no, it's the other way. I'm sorry, the other way. So it was this way. Fields, and then Murray, 2 picks. And then it went around. And then we had the Herbert, Drake May, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, come back to this round, Caleb Williams, and then skip the rest of the round, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Michael Penix, and J.J. McCarthy. It'll be interesting with Penix. One of the beat reporters, there's always a lot of them, was talking, he was on the Athletics show, okay? I love the Athletics show. I listen to NFL shows. I don't really listen to fantasy. I listen to NFL. And the beat writer was talking about how Kirk Cousins looked significantly better than Michael Penix. Penix starting the season, no question. But Penix's his accuracy is a real issue. It's good throwing the ball downfield, but that short and intermediate area, I don't have the numbers in front of me. And somebody could fact check this. I want to say that in the last 3 games that Penix started, the only 3 games he started, the last 3 games of the season, I want to say Bijan Robinson had a total of 2 catches for 8 yards. Somebody can look that up and tell me if I'm wrong. If it was an average of that, I thought it was 2 catches for 8 yards. Even if it was an average, though, it was 24. It was an average of 8 yards. But I think either one. Penix wasn't getting the screen game going. And nobody's talking about the fact that if he can't get the screen game going, what happens if Bijan Robinson only catches 25 passes? I get he can run for 1,800 yards. I get that. But this team's probably going to trail a lot. The schedule's it's interesting. All right, the quarterback run continues. Anyways, I hypothesize. We had McCarthy, Stafford went, and Tungo Vailoa. So a couple of our quarterbacks that we hope stay healthy. Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to be on deck here. Let me take a quick look at my board and see what I'd like to do. Yeah, there's a player I think I'd like to take specifically here if he's on the board. We'll see what happens with that. Dallas, we had a little. Oh, and the Philly Eagles go off the board here. I want some wide receiver depth here. How many do I have? Am I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It's not enough. I think taking a flyer on De'Ami Brown makes sense. You hear me throwing all that shade on Trevor Lawrence, but Brown should see the field. I know he was terrible last year to the playoffs. In the playoffs, he was very good. In the new offense, we'll see what happens. It's a flyer. It's the 15th round, so it's about that time. Take your flyers, see what happens. Randy points out if Team Baker can flourish under the same coaching. Yeah, and Randy, where I go with that is, I'm on deck, so give me a minute here. All right, I think the 16th round is probably a good time for me to take the 3rd defense off the board. So, it's an early bye week, and I'm not excited. But I am excited about the Houston Texans defense. We get another year of D'Amico Ryans coaching. Will Anderson's a beast. They got Stingley. They got some really good pieces. So, yeah, I know it's an early bye, but you know what? Let's go with the Houston Texans here. 16th round. I think that's it's 20-round draft. It's a tournament still, and your defense got to score some points. So I didn't pop an early pick, but I was happy doing this one at that point. I think that was a fair cost for my team defense. Brenton Strange off the board. So, Randy, I want to get back to the Baker Mayfield question. So, here's the deal with Baker Mayfield. As a rookie, he was great. He played 15 games. I guess like 28 touchdowns. And then the second year, Freddie Kitchen was figured out, and it was a train wreck. Nothing worked for them. And then the next year after that, Kevin Stefanski came in, and Baker had the 26 touchdown and 8 interception season. He was really, really good, right? And then the fourth year, Baker Mayfield plays through 2 torn up shoulders, and he's terrible. The whole football community, NFL, fantasy, they said Baker Mayfield's terrible. He's horrible. And so that narrative followed him. And so he had that reclamation year where he played a few games at the Rams, a few games at the Panthers, and nothing happened. Well, then 2 years ago, Baker goes to the Bucs, and he throws, was it 26 or 28 touchdowns? It was one of those two. It was a good season. And then last year, we get Cohen, and he gets 41 touchdowns. So that, career year, of course. But here's the deal. Baker was already a good quarterback. The other thing, the offensive line in Tampa was great. And Chris Godwin, for the first however many weeks he played, playing at the elite of elite levels, but then Mike Evans, Hall of Famer. And Mike Evans was like perfect for Baker Mayfield. So now you get Trevor Lawrence. The offensive line is nowhere near Tampa's. And Brian Thomas had a great third of a season with Mac Jones. But with Trevor Lawrence, it was not the same player. Lawrence, bad decision maker. And then Travis Hunter's working his way in. He's going to play both ways. He's missing out on some valuable offensive reps. I'm worried. It could go great. It could be Cohen, like the Magic Man, blow everything up. But the running game is not a guarantee either. And not Bucky Irving. We didn't know who he was. We knew who he was, but we didn't know who he was. And so there's a lot of things that have to work right for Cohen to have anywhere close to the same level of success. But to think Baker, and remember, Lawrence's best season was 25 touchdowns. And I said Baker had 4 seasons better than that already. So we'll see. It's interesting. But I like the question, Randy. But I think we just write Baker off, and I think it's the wrong thing to do. All right, let's look at the draft here. So we're getting Marty. All right, always good to see you, Marty. Appreciate you being here. All right. So as we look through the defense are go off the board. So we had Denver going the 12th round. Then we didn't see another defense go to the 15th, near the end of the 15th. And it was the Eagles. I took the Texans, Steelers, and Ravens, a little AFC North love there. And we began to see a bit of a kicker run here in the 15th round. Cowboys broke the seal. 16th, we got the Lions. We got the Chargers, we got the Steelers, and we got the Broncos. So definitely got some kickers going off the board. Obviously, the draft boards are drying up here as we're in the 16th round. 49ers defense. Now, 2 things I like about the 49ers defense, Dan and Josh picked them after the Justice Hill pick. What I like is it's a super late buy. So if you're going to go with one defense, you don't have to worry about streaming them early. But the 49ers have a ridiculously easy schedule. So Robert Saleh's back. They don't have the talent. They've been losing infrastructure talent-wise for years. But I think the easy schedule and having Robert Saleh, I think there's, again, if you're taking him as a 6th defense off the board or roughly 5th, 6th, I think the 49ers, for that reason, it makes a little bit of sense. And we'll see if Michael, if his last name evades me, I think it's Williams, but maybe it's not. Bookending Nick Bosa. If that works out, that could be a big deal. Mike L's last name evades me, though. I'm sorry about that. Kyle Monangai goes to Team 9. And we all take these backup running backs hoping for darts later. But Team 9, Bigsby, again, could have an early down role here. Shipley, if Barkley was Monangai. I think Monangai is a 7th round draft pick. Look, I don't trust the Bears backfield outside of Swift. And so if Swift misses time, I could easily see Monangai moving into a volume role. And defense, like I said earlier, they got to play the Bears against the pass, and nobody's going to go in trying to coach against the Bears, running. They're going to coach the pass. So there should be more room to run. The offensive line's been upgraded. It's exciting. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, we are in the middle of the 7th. Darius Slayton up the board. So Charlene, Keaton Mitchell, and Bashal Tootin are impressing. Yeah, Keaton Mitchell, I'm hoping for him to do well this year. He looked good in his limited duty. Looks like he's back. And they were saying off season. I had been drafting a lot of Mitchell earlier. Mitchell came back, said he was healthy, but John Harbaugh also said he was looking healthy. So Keaton Mitchell is super explosive. And I think the Ravens would be really smart to use him in that change of pace role. Because if you are using Derrick Henry, the ultimate battering ram, and you're coming in at that level of speed, defenses are going to struggle against that. All right, let me take a look at my board here and see where I want to go with this. Nothing specific there. Nothing specific there. All right, I think I could do that. All right, good deal. Oh, you know what? Could go that route. The Bills go off the board. The Buffalo Bills. All right, Jack Besh. You know, I am going to, the way this board is falling in the end of the 17th round, I do want to come out of this so I can stream my not stream, but I can pair up my defenses based on matchups. And the Lions have some injuries already, but the pass rush I think is going to be good. I think the coverage unit, the corners and the safeties are really coming on there. So I think there's a team that I think I'm going to get a second defense here, and I'm going to be able to work the matchups a little bit here. So that's the way I'll go with that. All right. So, yeah, a couple of second two defense. We're at that point. I got players on my board I think I can get late. And so I'm not really worried about some of these certain players getting snapped up. So I'm good with that. There is no player on the board position-wise that I have to have right now. All right. So, you know what? Now, the kicker thing. Here's the thing. If you remember last year, you remember that Washington's kicker, and why his name evades me. He was that guy who's a career journeyman, but he had that great year last year. I'll think of his name later. But yeah, Washington was scoring an oodle of points. I think they're going to score a lot of points, but they have a late bye. And so in these things, I'm going to take one kicker. But now a week 12 bye, I don't have to deal with that for a long time. So I am going to definitely take the Commanders. But the bye week is huge here. And there are a few other teams with late buys, but a lot of them are not good offenses. So I think having the combination of a late bye week and a good offense, that's what I want out of my kicker for this, because I don't want to have to drop a kicker in week 6 and then I made an 18th round pick and I don't want to deal with that. So yeah, Jay, I loosely rank them. I do have rankings for them. I always don't want to target the top ones. I never want to be the first one taking one off the board. So this year, the two I took are two I've kind of earmarked. The Texans and the Lions go not at the very top, and I'm willing to take them. And the 49ers are one. The 49ers fall a lot. So I'm happy to take them because I mentioned that late bye and the easy schedule. Those are things I look at as well. But the defense is often a crapshoot. I try to find a defense that is on the move. And I really think the Texans are on the move. And I think the Lions, after all those injuries last year, and again, they have some run defenders injured, but most of their pass defense is pretty healthy. So these are teams I think are aggressive, and I kind of like to do that. So we had a little running back run here in the 18th round. Marshawn Lloyd, Jarquez Hunter, Brashard Smith, Sean Tucker, all of those players are interesting. Lloyd, obviously, if he can get and stay healthy, if we were to see Josh Jacobs miss time, he could move into a bit of a volume role. Jarquez Hunter, if Kyron Williams were to miss time, we don't know between Corum and Hunter what the deal is, but if Hunter moved ahead there. Brashard Smith, with these Andy Reid's backs, it takes some time to learn the receiving part of the game, but we could see Brashard Smith move into a Jerick McKinnon type role in the second half of the season, and I think that could be really, really fun to watch. Sean Tucker, Rachaad White dealing with a bit of an injury now. If that were to linger, I don't think they want to run the 195-pound Bucky Irving into the ground. So I do think there's room for a second back here. Sean Tucker has had his moments and flashes, but again, these are great late picks. And then Packers and Chargers defense off the board. See, Josh said Dan is no longer team 12. Dan is no longer in charge of our health report. Oh, you're talking about all the the guys I list like Shakir, Downs, Mooney. Yeah, you got a bit of an injury list going there. But it's all good, man. It's all good. All right, let's see what else we got here. Randy, a future waiver wire pickup is still available. Curious if he'll get drafted. Yeah, you have to let me know if it's a player you're looking for. Hey, everybody, hope you're enjoying coverage of the NFFC Rotowire Online Championship, $250,000 grand prize. This man, Tom Kesenick, and we got Greg Ambrosius running this thing. They do a phenomenal job for years. If you want to find a league and draft, you go to playnffc.com. definitely do. You can find a live event, you can find an online event, and you definitely want to be part of this and have an opportunity for the big cash. Remember, in every 12-team league, the top 2 teams make the money round, and then there are teams that make it on points beyond that as well. So it is not, you have other opportunities. You have a great team and the records doesn't work. It still doesn't mean you can't cash in. This is a full PPR league at 6 points for passing touchdown, 0.05 points for passing yard. We start a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, tight end, flex, team defense, team kicker. We had a 3rd round reversal if you came in late and you're looking at the board. Also, this is not best ball, full season fab. Yeah, I think that's pretty. We did Kentucky Derby style where everybody put their order of preference on the picks, and then the machine runs it, and then you get your pick based on there. I had the 3rd pick in this draft if you joined late. Remember, Sirius XM Fantasy, channel 87. I will be on Saturday and Sunday, 2 to 4 Eastern with Mario Puig. We'll be breaking down players. Oh, yeah, Jay Red talked about the 70-yard field goal in the preseason. Also, Thursday nights, I used to be on Wednesdays, Tom Kesenick and myself, NFFC Rotowire high-stakes show every Thursday, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern. If you got the app on XM, you could catch that show after the facts. I know it's a late one, but all I said, and finally with Rotowire, if all my written content is behind a paywall, about 4 articles a week. If you want that and access to our tools, we have a great mock draft tool. We have a great draft assistant. If you want a 15% discount, you go to rotowire.com, pick that subscription out. You use the code YouTube15 at checkout. If you aren't following me on the X at Jim Coventry NFL, I put up threads of the day, stats of the day, my videos with a face for radio. Obviously, can't do much about that. Good there. All right, let's go back. I'm on the clock. I am up. All right, let's see what we got here. Take a quick look here. 2 picks left for me, and they're coming up pretty much back to back. All right, let's see here. All right, I am going to take this player in the hopes he signs somewhere. Probably won't, but I'll give Amari Cooper a whirl. We're in the 19th round. We're closing time of the bar here, and if he were to sign somewhere, might not be a bad 6th receiver for me. These are the kind of darts I take late in these drafts. I'm going to take a quick look as I come around to this last pick. Oh, there's an interesting one on the board if he lasts. Oh, that'd be an interesting one. Yeah, we'll find out in a minute. So anyway, Michael Wilson goes went in the 18th round. Bryce Young went. Geno Smith went in the 18th round. And then quarterbacks at the end of the 1920 tournament, Anthony Richardson just goes here. Jalen Knoll had gone, and Isaac Tesla goes as Team 1's last pick. I'm on deck here. Oh, I got a couple of interesting ones here. Oh, Jay, appreciate you listening on the radio. You know what? There were 2 running backs I was looking at, and we're looking at the 20th round here. To me, can a backfield be any more muddy than Dallas? And I say no. So, look, probably cut the guy in week 2, but let's take a shot on Miles Sanders here. He's terrible, but if Javonte Williams still can't run, if Jadon Blue struggles to hang on to the ball, he has some fumbling issues. Could happen. It's 20th round. It's garbage time, right? We're just taking our late. And Randy Isaac Tesla was your guy. Yeah. Big-bodied receiver. Yeah, very big-bodied receiver there. We'll see how the new coaching staff does in Detroit there, but yeah, great late pick. Jackson, we're getting some kickers out of the way here. We saw Chigakonkwo go in the 19th round. I think if Team 5 hadn't taken Chigakonkwo, I might have taken, even though it's a 3rd tight end. I don't want to take a 3rd tight end, but Okonkwo to me is a breakout candidate. Never really had much of a good situation, and it might be he could be the de facto 2nd receiver in that offense. Ali Gordon goes, and I know Charlene was talking about Ali Gordon earlier. Look, if Achane were to miss time, everybody got penciled in Jalen Wright. That offensive line is terrible. They may need a power back, and if they do, Ali Gordon could definitely have an opportunity to be in that scenario. Charlene, Chargers defense looking good in the they are. You know what's going to be interesting with them? Last year, the Chargers just ate against bad teams. But when they played good teams, man, they got smoked. And that'll be interesting to see how that shakes out this year. They didn't add a ton of talent. Bosa's gone. Not that he was playing great anyway. But, yeah, so we'll see with the Chargers. It'll be interesting. But, Yeah, so let's see. Jay, thank you for the comments. Yeah, here's the thing. Hopefully everybody had fun watching this one. I know I have fun talking to everybody. I might talk a little too much. You guys listen to me for hour 42. You're saints. You're a saint in my book. So I appreciate that. Great. Like I said, XM show on the weekend. It's gonna be fun. Mario and I are gonna break down about 3 players a segment. So it's 24 players on Saturday, 24 players on Sunday. Get you ready for those drafts. Cam Ward goes a little Jordan Whittington. Elijah Arroyo, great late round pick by Team 8. My friends, Josh and Dan picking a Team 12. They had little Isaiah Davis, who I actually think, look, if Brees Hall were to miss time, I think Isaiah Davis personally is a better all-around back than Braylon Allen. Nobody talks about him. That'll be interesting here. And I like the late Justice Hill pick by them too, because hey, Ray McLeod is the last pick of the draft. You know, I mean, if they go back to what they're doing last year, which was a ton of 3 receiver sets, and as the last pick of a draft, and if Penix can get a little better on his accuracy, they're gonna have to score points there. So yeah, I love the last pick of the draft is Ray McLeod. He had a really great season last year. Randy, appreciate you, but yeah, I enjoyed Friday night hanging out with everybody here. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Friday. I'm gonna say another minute or two. If anybody has any comments, I'll answer questions, or if you have anything, maybe I can do a little quick look at a couple of these teams here and see what we got going here. So I noticed Team 1, they went with 3 running backs in rounds 3, 4, 5, and then didn't deal with the position until super late, rounds 15 and 17. Thought that was a smart build after going with Lamar Jackson second. Dan, appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's fun. They all had a nice time here. And then Team 2, I also went with a quarterback early. So you see Team 1 and 2 both taking a quarterback early. Thought that was solid way to go. And then we saw wide receiver heavy from the 4th to the 10th round. So getting that baseline, but going on that James Cook and Josh Allen pairing and Keon Coleman to make it the stack. Like that move. I was Team 3, and I never toot my own horn, and everybody has a good team here. Charlene, appreciate you. Yeah, you're the best. You are the best. Always love seeing you on these. Team 4, so we had the Gibbs and Henderson backfield, Bowers early, and then Mayfield and Goff's a good duo. But then the receiver hit for this team was 3 to 6, and you had Mike Evans, Zay Flowers, Jerry Jeudy, and Matthew Golden. So, but again, sometimes I always wonder with the tight end build. You got that great tight end. So is he really your wide receiver 2, and that or even wide receiver 1? And that's a lot of the ideas that people use, and I like that. Team 5 went with 3 receivers in the first 4 rounds. Again, I said having Tyreek as your third. I'm not in on Tyreek, but as a third receiver, yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with that. And then the backfield got pieced together well. See Josh Jacobs and Kamara, and then rounding it out with everybody else with some darts. Kittle in the 4th round, I think, was a great pick by Team 6 because, like I said, I think 80 to 94 targets a year, something like 84 to 94. And this might be the year with their receiver injuries, questions, things. We could see Kittle finally see that 120 targets. And if he gets that, he could be the tight end 1. Don't be surprised there. And then Team 6 took Bo Nix, their starting quarterback, in round 9. Backed him up with Tua Tagovailoa. Love the Rashee Rice pick for upside in the playoffs. We don't know what the suspension is going to be, but man, if it's only a few games, getting Rice in the 5th round could be huge. And then Team 7, we got the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts pairing there. So love that one. And started out A.J. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then went running back heavy. So I like that build from the 3rd through the 7th. You went with Kyron, DeAndre Swift, Caleb Johnson. That's a really good trio. And then if Joe Mixon somehow figured it out. But then follow it up with Nick Chubb. So if one of them becomes the lead guy, you got something there. Team 8, very wide receiver heavy through 4 in the first 6 picks. Drake London, T. Higgins, Kelvin Ridley, Stephon Diggs, great quartet. Chase Brown, the lead running back. And then even coming back with Tracy and Warren. So I think the Team 8 did a real nice job addressing running back. And they did take a quarterback in the 4th round, Joe Burrow. So I think that was really good. So, Charlene, the start sit show is going to be regular seasons, Sundays, 11 Eastern. I'll be doing that one. And then I get the XM show 2 to 4 Saturdays and Sundays. The Saturday show will be through the whole season. This year, the XM didn't renew us on Sunday, so won't be on Sundays after the preseason. But it'd be a Sunday show. I'd definitely be on for that and love everybody to come to the Start Sit show. That'll be fun. And so let me see here. Team 9, very wide receiver heavy. We went 5 in the first 6 pick. Neighbors, McConkey, Sutton, Devontae Smith, and Travis Hunter. And then followed up the Bucky Irving with Pacheco, Dobbins, and Charbonnet. Now, the good thing here was you used, how many picks is that? 9 picks on running back and receiver. And then that was a specific reason to go back. Punted on quarterback, Herbert and Penix, hoping to make something work. Tight end took 1, Tucker Kraft, but made sure that running back in receiver room was strong. Team 10 took 2 tight ends in the first 9 picks. McBride obviously could be considered a wide receiver for the team, and then Hawkinson, and then McCaffrey. Pollard is a good duo, backed up McCaffrey with Garendo, and then pieces together later. And wide receiver room of Puka, Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, Deebo Samuel. Team 10, I like the build there. And then the Brandon Ayuk one, like I said, 140 picks into a draft. Why not, right? If you need him for the money round, could be there for you. Team 11, again, another a wide receiver heavy build. 4 in the first 5 picks. Nico, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Jameson Williams. But then, again, 8 picks the beginning of the draft are all running back receiver. So following up Derrick Henry with Monty, Aaron Jones, and Cam Scadaboo, it was well constructed by Team 11, and then went double tap 2 in a row. Andrews and Kincaid. I think that was that. It was kind of a double tap, so solid there. Charlene, in terms of Matt Gay himself, like Matt Gay's a really good kicker. This is a team kicker here. So even a Matt Gay, if you're drafting an individual kicker, I think Matt Gay has shown he's a strong kicker, and I think having Washington, they're going to score points. I think he's fine. This is a team kicker, so I even feel better about that because if a kicker struggles, I don't have to worry. I have whoever, or he gets injured, I don't have to worry. I got whoever the starter is. But I think Matt Gay is going to, if you're waiting on to the last kicker, I think you could get him as the last kicker, and I think that's good if you play that strategy. So I definitely like that. So anyway, I thought that Team 11 leveraged quarterback well, waiting to the 11th round. Then got Brock Purdy. He came up with Jordan Love. That's a good duo waiting late. And then again, the Andrews Kincaid, love that. And I talked plenty about Dan and Josh's team 12. But I mentioned earlier, they took some tickets. First of all, I like the sneaky Daniels and McLaurin duo. I think that, and then you stacked them McCroskey, Merritt, and Ertz. So big Washington stacked there. And McCroskey Merritt steps into a role. That could be fun. That was a really well leveraged there. Genty and Taylor are big upside duo. Taylor stays healthy, lights out. But remember those receivers. McLaurin, we don't know what his deal is. Addison's going to miss 3, but he'll be back after that. Shakir fighting off a high ankle, down soft tissue. Mooney dealing with a shoulder right now. But again, you have a collection of receivers. You only need 3 at a time. And so it may well work out. Travis Etienne mentioned the PPR value, the Liam Cohen screen game. I think Etienne is a natural for that. So overall, great draft. You had a lot of people here. Didn't see any more comments coming in. So everybody have a great rest of your Friday night. I think this is the last live draft I'll be doing here. But actually, yeah, just keep an eye on the X at Jim Coventry NFL. If I do other shows, if I have anything going, I'll always tell you what I got going there. And hopefully I don't say too much in there so you don't mute me or turn me off. But everybody, thank you. Great to see everybody. And again, have a good weekend.